Wait. John, stop for a second. Before we even get into the text, look at the sky outside the studio window. Is it just me, or is the lighting getting really weird? It's like this bruised purple color.
It's not just you, Steph. I saw the weather alert on my phone right before we hit record. There is a massive front moving in. Honestly, it is the perfect backdrop for today because in Job 35, 36, and 37, the atmosphere is literally changing. You can almost feel the static electricity in the pages.
Well, hopefully the power stays on long enough for us to finish this. Welcome back to the Deeper Dive, everyone. We are on day 29. If you're a modern seeker like me, you're probably feeling a little bit like Job right now. Exhausted. We've been listening to this new guy, Elihu, for a few chapters now, and he's a lot.
He's the guy who joins the group chat late, scrolls up for 5 seconds, and then starts typing a novel about why everyone else is wrong. But here's the deal. Even though his bedside manner is basically zero, he is dropping some major theological truth bombs in chapter 35 that we have to talk about.
Okay, then let's go there. Because Elihu starts chapter 35 by asking Job a question that honestly sounds a little cold. He asks, "Do you think this is right? Do you say, 'My righteousness is more than God's'?" And then he basically asks, "What do you get out of being good? How are you better off than if you had sinned?" John, that feels so transactional.
It is totally transactional, Steph. And that is exactly what Elihu is trying to dismantle. See, we have this habit of treating God like a spiritual vending machine. We put in a good deed token, we press the blessing button, and if the candy bar gets stuck, if we suffer anyway, we want to kick the machine and scream, "I paid for that! This isn't fair!"
I have definitely wanted to kick the spiritual vending machine before. But Elihu's answer isn't, "Sorry, the machine is broken." His answer is basically, God doesn't even need your tokens.
Exactly. This is what theologians call aseity. Let's use the 5th grade rule here. Aseity just means God is self-sufficient. He doesn't need us to be God. Look at verses 5 through 7. Elihu tells Job to look at the clouds. He's saying, "Job, if you throw a rock at a cloud, do you hurt it? If you blow a kiss to a cloud, do you make it better?"
No, the cloud just keeps being a cloud. It's way too high to care about my rock or my kiss.
Boom! That is the point. Here's a modern mirror. Think about a global, multi-billion-dollar tech corporation. I'm talking the kind that basically runs the internet. If you, a single user, delete your account today because you're mad at them, does the CEO lose sleep? Is the company's stock price going to crash because of your 1-star review?
Probably not. They wouldn't even see the notification.
And if you write a glowing post that gets 10 likes, did you just add to their billions? No, they are independent of your input. Elihu is saying in verse 7, if you are righteous, what do you give to him? Or what does he receive from your hand?
But wait, John, that feels so distant. If my sin doesn't hurt God and my goodness doesn't help him, does he even care? It makes God sound like an indifferent boss who doesn't even know I work in the building.
I'm so glad you asked that, because this is the Transcendence Paradox. Elihu isn't saying God is indifferent, he's saying God is unassailable. I actually sketched a little visual for this on my tablet earlier. It's the horizontal versus vertical impact.
A visual? You know I love a good chart, John. Walk me through it.
Okay, so imagine 2 lines. The vertical line goes from us up to God. In terms of adding or subtracting from God's essence, the impact is 0. He's perfect. You can't make a perfect circle more circular. But then you have the horizontal line. That's us and our neighbors. Verse 8 says, your wickedness concerns a man like yourself, and your righteousness a son of man.
So, my sin does matter because it hurts the people around me, and my righteousness matters because it helps my community. It's not about paying God, it's about how we treat the other image bearers on the ground.
Exactly. God cares about your behavior because he cares about people, not because he's insecure and needs your approval to feel good about himself.
That actually changes everything. It takes the pressure off performing for God. But John, Elihu says something else in verse 10 that I think is a total hidden gem. He talks about God my maker, who gives songs in the night.
Oh man, that verse is everything. Think about the ancient world. No streetlights, no flashlights. Night was terrifying. It was the time of predators and cold and pitch-black darkness. Elihu is saying that even when you're in the night of your suffering, God can put a song in your heart that wasn't there before.
Songs in the night. It's like when you're going through a breakup or a loss, and suddenly a lyric or a verse just hits you and gives you peace you can't explain. But Elihu thinks Job is missing the song because he's too busy multiplying words without knowledge.
He's basically telling Job, stop trying to win the court case and start listening for the music. Now, is Elihu being a bit of a jerk about it? Yes. Christopher Ashe says almost every commentary is skeptical of Elihu's tone. He's using truth like a hammer to crush Job instead of a ladder to help him out of the pit.
Yeah, if I'm crying and someone tells me I'm just multiplying empty words, I'm probably not going to feel very comforted.
Well, don't throw your coffee at me yet because Elihu is just getting started. He's about to move from the clouds into the classroom in chapter 36.
The classroom? I hope there's no pop quiz. Let's take a quick break, grab a refill, and when we come back, we're going to talk about the software update for your soul.
We'll be right back. And we are back. If you can hear the wind rattling the studio door, that is not a sound effect. The storm is officially here. Stephanie, I think Elihu was looking at the exact same sky when he started chapter 36.
I believe it. It feels intense. But John, before we got cut off by the break, you promised to explain this software update thing. I was looking at verse 10 while you were refilling your mug, where Elihu says, God opens their ear to discipline. That word discipline always makes me think of getting in trouble. Is God just grounding Job for 3 months?
Man, that is such a common misconception. This is why we have to do a deeper dive into the original Hebrew. The word there is Musar.
Musar. Okay, lay it on me. What's the 5th grade rule translation for that?
Musar isn't just punishment. It's formative instruction. Think of it as training or correction that's meant to build character, not just pay a debt. In fact, the word for disciple in English comes from the same root as discipline. It's a curriculum, not a jail sentence.
Wait, so you're saying Job isn't in a courtroom being judged for a crime? He's in a classroom being taught a lesson? Because if my teacher taught me by taking away everything I loved, I'd be asking for a transfer to a different school.
I know. It sounds harsh. But here's the modern mirror. Think about a software update on your phone. You're in the middle of something important. Maybe you're texting a friend or checking your bank account, and suddenly the screen goes black. A little spinning wheel appears. You can't use your phone. It is enormously inconvenient.
It's the worst. You feel totally disconnected.
Right. But why is the developer doing that? Is it because they hate you? No. It's because they found a security flaw or a bug that you didn't even know was there. If they don't force that update, your whole system might crash later. Elihu is arguing in verse 15 that God delivers the afflicted by their affliction. The trial itself is the update that fixes the soul.
He delivers the afflicted by their affliction. That is a heavy thought, John. It's like saying the pain is the delivery system for the cure.
Exactly. Elihu describes God as the ultimate teacher. In verse 22, he asks, who is a teacher like him? See, Job's friends thought God was a judge just handing out sentences. But Elihu sees God as a physician or a surgeon. A surgeon has to cut you, which is painful, to remove a tumor that's killing you from the inside.
And what is the tumor in Job? Elihu seems convinced he's found it.
He thinks it's pride. He says in verse 9 that God tells them their deeds and their transgressions, that they have behaved proudly. Elihu's theory is that even in a righteous man like Job, there can be a sediment of pride at the bottom of the heart. When everything is going well, that sediment just sits there at the bottom of the glass. The water looks clear.
But when the storm hits and the glass gets shaken,
boom, the sediment gets stirred up. Suddenly, Job starts saying things like, I am more righteous than God, or God has taken away my right. Elihu is saying, Job, the storm didn't create that pride. It just revealed it so God could open your ear and wash it away.
John, I hear the logic, but I'm still struggling with the bedside manner part. Elihu says in verse 16 that God is trying to lead Job into a broad place with a table laden with choice food. But Job is literally sitting in a pile of ashes, scraping his sores with a piece of broken pottery. It feels a little insensitive to tell someone in that state that they just need to learn their lesson.
Oh, it is extraordinarily insensitive. Christopher Ashe points out that Elihu focuses almost exclusively on confronting sin without ever comforting the sufferer. He has the theology right. God is a teacher, but he has the pastoral application completely wrong. He's like a doctor who explains the physics of a car crash to the victim instead of actually calling an ambulance.
Who is a teacher like him? I guess the difference is that God knows exactly how much shaking we can handle, whereas Elihu is just guessing. But look at verse 27. Elihu starts talking about the water cycle, drawing up drops of water and distilling rain. Why the sudden shift to a science lecture?
Because he sees the lightning. He's literally narrating the storm as it rolls over them. He's trying to show Job that if we can't even understand how the clouds hang poised in the sky, verse 16, how can we draw up a case against the one who made the clouds?
We cannot draw up our case because of our darkness. That is verse 19. It's like he's saying our ignorance is actually a form of darkness. We want the why, but the why is too big for the room.
And that leads us perfectly into chapter 37. Elihu is trembling now. He says in verse 1 that his heart pounds and leaps from its place. He isn't just giving a talk anymore. He's watching the hand of God stop everyone from their labor.
He stops all people from their labor so they can recognize his power. Forced Sabbath. I think we need a little forced Sabbath ourselves to process that.
I agree. Let's take one last break to check the radar. When we come back, we're going to talk about the golden splendor coming from the north and the moment the whirlwind finally speaks.
We'll be right back. And we are back. If the audio sounds a little different, it's because John just had to swap his tablet for a physical Bible because our studio lights are flickering so much. John, are you okay over there? You look like you've seen a ghost.
Not a ghost, Steph. A storm. I was just looking at Job 37 while you were checking the backup generator, and I'm telling you, Elihu is narrating this in real time. He says in verse 2, listen to the roar of his voice. Can you hear that low rumble outside? That is exactly what Elihu is pointing at.
It's terrifying, honestly. But John, look at verse 7. This is the modern mirror you mentioned before the break. He seals up the hand of every man that all men may know his work. What does it mean to seal the hand? It sounds like a spiritual lockdown.
Exactly. It's an enormous work stoppage. Think about a massive blizzard in the city, the kind where the governor declares a state of emergency. The office is closed, the subway isn't running, your laptop won't charge, you are physically stopped from your labor.
I usually just use that as an excuse to binge watch a show, but Elihu says the purpose is that all men may know his work. So God uses the weather to say, stop playing God in your little cubicle for 5 minutes and look at what I can do with a few snowflakes.
Boom! It's a forced Sabbath. We get so caught up in our mighty efforts, that's verse 19, thinking we're the ones keeping the world spinning. But a single lightning bolt or a frozen pond, verse 10, reminds us we aren't even in the driver's seat.
It's a reality check on our autonomy. But then Elihu says something in verse 22 that is so beautiful. It almost feels out of place in this scary storm. Out of the north comes golden splendor. Around God is awesome majesty. John, I've never seen gold come out of a thunderstorm. Is he talking about literal gold?
This is the hidden gem of the day. In the ancient world, the north, or Zaphon, was where everyone thought the pagan storm gods like Baal lived. It was like their Mount Olympus. But Elihu is doing a subtle polemic. He's saying, you think Baal is the king of the north? No. Look at that horizon.
And what does he see?
Scientists today actually have a term for this. It's a post-storm solar halo. When the wind sweeps the clouds clean from the north, the sunlight hits the tiny ice crystals in the air and creates this blinding golden corona. It turns the sky into a living cathedral. Elihu sees this golden splendor and says, God is clothed in awesome majesty.
The Hebrew word for awesome there is Nora, right? I remember you saying that it doesn't just mean cool or great.
No, Nora means fear-inspiring or terrifyingly holy. It's the kind of beauty that makes you want to drop to your knees because you realize how small you are. Elihu is telling Job, look, if you can't even look at the sun when it shines in the sky after the wind has passed, verse 21, how are you going to stand in court against the one who is clothed in that light?
The Almighty. We cannot find him. He is great in power. It's the final stay-in-your-lane moment. Elihu is right about God's majesty, but he's still missing the mercy, isn't he, John?
He is. He says God is beyond our reach. But the gospel connection is that the God of golden splendor didn't stay beyond reach. In Christ, he clothed himself in humanity so we could look at his glory without being destroyed. He became the song in the night who walked into our storm.
I love that. So even when the sky is bruised and the hand is sealed, the golden splendor is coming.
Exactly. And speaking of coming, can you hear that? The wind isn't just whistling anymore, it's roaring. Elihu has finished his speech. The four friends have all had their say. And now, the whirlwind is about to speak for itself.
I'm not sure I'm ready, but that is where we have to stop for today. John, give us the text message summary for day 29.
Here it is. Your suffering is a forced Sabbath, designed to clear the air so you can see that God is too big to grasp, but too good to ignore.
And our action step? Next time a storm hits your life, whether it's a car repair or a health scare, don't just complain about the work stoppage. Ask God to open your ear and look for the golden splendor of his presence.
Amen. Thank you guys for hanging out with us in the storm. If this helped you understand Job 35 through 37 a little better, hit that like button and share it with a friend who is in a bruised sky season.
We'll see you tomorrow for day 30, when God finally breaks his silence.
Stay safe in the storm.